Chapter 12. Deacon. Deacon checked quickly to make sure Shonda and Dante were both buckled in before he backed out of the driveway. He scanned the area for the black car, but with the lights out, it was difficult to see. How had they managed to do that anyway? Didn't city lights run on a schedule? Were they so well connected that they had control of parts of the city as well? If so, this might be bigger than he'd thought, and to say he was glad they were leaving town was an understatement. "Where are we going?" Dante asked. He was in the middle between Deacon and Shonda, protected on either side, but his voice was still small and scared. He glanced at Shonda, wondering if he should answer or if she would. When she caught his eye, he lifted his brow in question and she nodded. "We're going to my city for a little bit. Think of it like a mini vacation." "Does that mean I don't have to go to school?" Deacon marveled at how fast the kid could shift gears. 2 seconds ago he was scared, and now he was excited. "I thought you liked school," Shonda said. Dante shrugged. "It's okay, I guess, but missing school would be even better." "Well, you'll miss a few days, but if we stay longer than a week, we'll either have to get you in school or I'll have to teach you. I won't have you falling behind." As Deacon turned off Shonda's street, something in his rearview mirror caught his attention. He peered closer, and though it was still too dark to see here, he was certain the black car was behind them. Seeing his actions, Shonda turned and peered out the back window. "Is it?" She let the question hang in the air. Deacon nodded. "Yeah, pretty sure. Look, grab my phone and dial Eric's number. Tell him we're headed out of town but being followed, and ask him to track my number." He glanced over at her, not wanting to say the words aloud that jostled and tumbled in his head. "Just in case." "Just in case what?" Dante asked, looking from one adult to the other. "It's nothing, honey. Don't worry about it," Shonda said, as she grabbed Deacon's phone. A few seconds later, she was on the phone with Eric and relaying the situation. Deacon marveled at how she managed to sound vague so as not to worry Dante, but still managed to be specific enough to get the information to Eric. He wondered if it was a parental trait and if he would hone that skill if he got to spend more time with Dante. Ahead, Deacon could see lights. Evidently, this section of the grid hadn't been touched, and a look in the mirror again confirmed the black car was following them. He had no idea if the car would follow them out of town, and he couldn't very well drive to Fire Beach with a tail, so he decided to see if he could shake them. "Hold on," he said, as he took a sharp right at the next intersection. Though it was night and there were fewer cars on the road, Deacon didn't want to chance causing an accident. So while he sped up, he kept the speed manageable. Unfortunately, it wasn't enough to shake the tail. He tried another sharp turn, alleyways and side streets, but it was no use. The black car was keeping pace. Shonda's face was a mask of fear, and Deacon could hear Eric's voice through the phone asking what was happening. Dante was silent, but his eyes were wide and his hands clutched his bag like it was the strap holding him in a roller coaster. He drove faster, careening around corners, but the black car matched his speed. He had no choice but to keep going. Finally, they ended up on a dead-end road. The black car was behind them, though they'd managed to gain a little distance. Unfortunately, it didn't matter, as now there was no escape. Deacon slammed on the brakes and the car skidded to a stop. An old brick warehouse loomed ahead. It was not his first choice, but their options were to run or face whoever was after them, and the latter held no appeal. "Come on," he said, grabbing his bag and helping Dante out of the truck. Shonda followed suit, clutching her bag on one shoulder and his phone in her other hand. "We're at a warehouse, Eric," Deacon shouted toward the phone. "Send backup." He pulled on the door, surprised when it opened easily. The warehouse didn't appear to be in use any longer, so maybe the owner had decided a lock wasn't necessary. Or they were stepping into a trap. Deacon pushed the thought from his mind. No use even flirting with that road. The air inside the warehouse was stale and musty, and there was little light. "Turn on the flashlight on the phone, and let's see if we can find something to block the door with." Shonda did as he asked and handed back his phone before pulling her own from her pocket and turning its light on as well. Shadows jumped and danced around the cavernous space, and Deacon could feel the fear from Dante and Shonda floating in the air. His own heart beat wildly in his chest, but he was determined not to let the fear win. In the corner, he found a long, slender pole and managed to stick it through the handles of the door. It wouldn't hold forever, but hopefully it would buy them enough time. "Come on," he said, leading the way deeper into the bowels of the warehouse. He wasn't sure exactly what he was hoping to find. A back exit would be nice, but with his truck on the other side, that would leave them to run on foot, which wasn't the brightest idea. So maybe just a room where they could hide until Eric showed up. Hopefully, it wouldn't be long. The warehouse was devoid of equipment, but it was clear that people had been inside at some point, as his light caught more than a few spray-painted words as they walked. "What was this place?" Dante asked, his voice sounding much louder in the silence of the space. Before either of them could answer, a loud banging noise echoed through the cavernous space. Whoever was after them was at the door and banging on it with something. Deacon picked up his pace, making sure he wasn't going so fast that Dante and Shonda couldn't keep up, but knowing that they had to find a place to hide, and soon. As if God was listening and answering his prayer, a door appeared ahead of him. He tugged on the handle, sure that it would be locked, but it swung open easily. "Inside," he said, over the banging noise still filling the air. Shonda and Dante followed his command, and then he closed the door behind them. It had a lock, which he engaged, though he doubted it would do much good. Shining his light around the space, he realized this had once been an office. And while there wasn't much furniture still in the room, there was a lone desk. It wouldn't keep the people after them from getting in, but it might slow them down a little. "Help me move the desk," he said to Shonda, setting his phone down with the light shining up so they could see. She grabbed the other side, and together they pushed the desk into place, blocking the door. "How long do you think that will hold them?" she asked. "I don't know. I'm just hoping long enough that Eric can get here," he said. "Mom, what's this?" Deacon shined his light toward the sound of Dante's voice and found the kids staring at another door. It was much smaller than the entrance, definitely big enough for him, though it would be a tight squeeze for Deacon. "Do we open it?" Shonda asked, the tremble in her voice much more pronounced now. "Maybe it's an exit. We should at least check." Deacon approached the door, wishing he felt as confident as his words sounded. He turned the handle and pushed the door in. It didn't lead outside, but he was not expecting what he saw on the other side.